Jim and Ryan explore behavioral biases in financial actions, emphasizing their impact on success. They elaborate on biases such as herding, endowment effect, and selective attention, among others. They introduce the concept of money mindsets, like the brick wall and dreamer, and underscore the understanding of one's mindset influencing financial decisions. They suggest listeners to take a quiz to understand their money mindset. Further, they discuss key behavioral aspects of personal finance, underscoring the importance of lowering the mental value of possessions, not aping others, and avoiding decisions based on unrealistic expectations. They stress the need to break patterns, make positive changes, and not use savings or debt for expenses. They promote a mindset shift to make money work for individuals and wrap up with an overview of their financial program and their contact information.
Ryan, I think we're going to be winging this one tonight. What do you think?
We'll try to bring the chicken wings down a little bit for this one, but I think it'll be a good episode because, I know it's going to be a good episode because there's a lot of learning about behavioral and how people understand the biases going into what they've learned in the past. So,
can I maybe kind of go off script here a little bit and talk, expand on that?
Yeah,
a little bit more with your permission.
Of course.
We've helped, and I thought about this today. We've helped clients throughout the years with their retirement planning, investment planning, insurance planning. We're getting to the cash flow side of things. And a lot of the decisions that people make are usually surrounded around the investments that they hold, the rate of return, inflation, taxes, which are all very important. Mm-hmm. And they're all things that are measurable. But we tend to, or people tend to focus on those things as the, number one reason or driver to provide them with success in the future. And really, the one thing that throws a lot of people off course with all their plans and all their intentions is their behavior.
Absolutely.
That's one thing that is very difficult to measure. We can't measure it. But I've seen it personally where behavior has derailed people's plans, not rates of returns, not the investments that they're holding, not taxes, not any of those things. It's their behavior. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking a lot about behavior biases and behavioral cash flow planning, the psychology of money. And I just want to continue on expanding that with you this evening. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're going to be talking about how, overcoming behavioral biases will help unlock some of people's retirement successes. Yeah. Or understanding what some of those biases are and presenting it to them will help them perhaps reach their retirement success. And not just retirement, but other things. Right now we're focusing on retirement because it's unofficially retirement or RRSP season, although it's not what it used to be. Mm-hmm. But it is something that a lot of people are talking about today.
Yeah.
So here's the agenda. And for those of you who are listening in, we have a PowerPoint presentation. We're getting really fancy again this evening. We're going to talk about financial behavior. We're going to talk about the common causes of financial stress in relationships. We're going to talk about money mindsets. And that's a really big one. And that's been a bit of an eye-opener for Ryan and I. How family money mindsets interact, and then finally cooperating with others no matter what their money mindset is.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to start off with some financial behavior. And the first three we're going to talk about is herding, the endowment effect, and present bias. So we'll start off with herding. Ryan, you want to explain what this means?
Well, herding really is following the crowd, and fear of missing out is essentially what it comes down to, right? And when we make money decisions, mortgage decisions, again, the rates of returns that we're expecting, we're essentially following the crowd. And, to kind of back up a little too is when it comes to the psychology of people, some historical context to this is that, it's human nature to make emotional decisions because we're really used to, fight or flight, really. And, we were for thousands of years, and it's in our DNA that for thousands of years we're hunters and gatherers, and when we saw a saber-toothed tiger, we either fought or ran away. So
Yeah.
I think it's important that those things are embedded in us, and for us to first and foremost recognize that this is something that's affecting how we go upon our day to day and make our decisions.
Mm.
So there's this conflict that happens with our own DNA and the historical means of what's going on versus our own now current moral dilemma.
Mm.
And I think as we go through each of these biases, there are many more than just the ones that we're going to mention today.
Mm.
But often these are some of the ones that we see. So, the impact that it often has on our behavior when it comes to making a financial choice, when it comes to hurting, is, are we finding the right information, or are we just following the herd? Are we following what social media is, or the local news is kind of scaring us into? And often what triggers this is this fear of missing out. It's like, as an example,
Mm.
Black Friday triggers a lot of spending because you just feel like you're going to miss out on a deal that's happening, right? But you really need that 85-inch television opposed to the 65-inch that's likely probably sitting on your wall. So,
Yeah.
which again can, remove us from achieving our ultimate goal, whether it's saving for a home or, in this case, we're talking about today, retirement.
Yeah, but the other thing,
That's
even using the Black Friday as the example, there really is no evidence that that is the absolute best day for deals.
yeah,
There are deals throughout the year.
yeah,
So that's the the one example. The other example is mortgages. I don't know how many times I would talk to someone who would say, "Well, 5-year term is the best option for a mortgage, or a 25-year amortization is the best." And I ask them why, and they don't
yeah,
really have an actual clear answer. It's, well, that's what everybody else seems to be doing, or that's what my friends have done, that's what my parents have done, so it must be the right thing to do. But yet, in some cases, there's evidence that 5-year term mortgages probably not the right decision, and
yeah,
there are times where a variable rate mortgage, for example, is a better decision, or a shorter fixed term mortgage. And where I personally saw a lot of the hurting example in my world, I'll go back to the late what was it, late 80s, or sorry, late 90s, where the .com era.
hmm
Everyone that I talked to was holding things like Nortel and all tech stock because their neighbor was doing it, their hockey buddies were buying into. So to your point about fear of missing out, well, maybe I should do it too because everyone else is doing it. It
yeah,
happened with when marijuana stocks became popular. Everyone and their uncle was buying marijuana stocks,
yeah,
and that turned out to be a bad move. And then Bitcoin came in, and these are examples. And now recently it's GICs, or prior to
mhm,
that, many people were buying rental properties because everyone seems to be out there, or were out there buying rental properties. So they figured, hey, if there's a way to do it, I'm going to do it too.
yeah,
And not that it was a wrong decision, but it's not right for everybody. So really, you have to be considerate of your personal situation. Just because your neighbor is going out and investing in something that may be risky or conservative, it
mhm,
doesn't mean that it's right for you necessarily, but this is a common behavior that we all tend to experience,
yeah. Yeah,
right?
we, talking with John too, having him on the podcast a few times, and as I said before, being able to walk through every individual, and know that he's going to ask the right questions to discover what's right for that person, right?
Mm.
And even the last one, he said the same thing. It's a case by case, and that's
Yeah.
the way we see everybody. Versus some institutions that you go to, is they kind of blanket everybody as one, and the same goes for the way we see, well, if that person's doing, that means I need to be doing the same thing. I need to have a side hustle, right? I need to
Yeah.
be selling t-shirts on Amazon or whatever is going on. So yeah,
Yeah. And you're even in the last episode we talked about reverse mortgages,
Absolutely.
and there was once upon a time where I didn't really know anyone who had a reverse mortgage, and
Mm-hmm.
now it seems that a lot more people that I'm speaking with are getting reverse mortgages. And once again, we have to be very careful of that. Not to say that it's the right or wrong thing to do,
Yeah.
but it might not be the right thing for you specifically or the wrong thing for you specifically. So again, that's really what the herding effect is, and we have to be mindful of that. The next behavior is endowment effect.
Mm-hmm.
So Ryan, maybe you can explain what endowment effect is.
Well, it's, we tend to overvalue things that we own. And somehow the mere act of ownership increases the perception of value of something. So, you know, well, the example that I can think of is when you buy your own home, right?
Yeah.
Our own perceived value is that it is higher than it actually is. Obviously, the market will indicate what that is. And when we go shopping for a home, you know, we we see other homes and we essentially devalue them because, well, they don't have certain things that our current home has. So
Yeah.
the same thing can happen for people when, managing our expectations is more difficult. So when people value things like their homes, they can overinflate them, and it just really decreases our ability to make the right decision in that moment. So
Yeah, I mean, I experience that a lot when I sit down with clients and we're going through review meetings, and part of the plan is incorporating their principal residence from a net worth point of view.
mhm,
And I'll always ask the question, "What do you think your house is worth?" And of course, it's usually 20 to 30% more than what the actual market is dictating at that time.
yeah,
And that's normal. I mean, we do it ourselves. It happens with even investment assets. I don't know
mhm,
how many people hold on to a stock thinking it's going to be worth a lot more because they own it, right?
yep,
Than
yep,
it really is worth. So that's another behavior again that we have to be mindful of is
yep,
the endowment effect. And I just want to remind people these are things that are not really discussed by a lot of professionals, and we've put in a lot of time learning about this, and it makes sense because these are the things that truly impact your finances, both short term and long term, is a lot of these behaviors. I just wanted to send in kind of like that reminder.
yeah,
Present bias. That's the next one we're going to talk about.
yeah.
All right. Ryan, want to take a crack at this one?
Sure. So it's we tend to value things that we have right away more than things that we'll have wait for. So, it's would we would we take the $100 right now or wait a few months or a year to take $120? And
Right.
most people, a majority of people, will take the 100. They'd rather take the $100 right now,
Yeah.
but they don't realize when it comes to things like investing, 100 versus 120, that's a 20% increase
Mm.
in your investment. And people, whatever, uh, and that makes a big difference when people are making decisions, whether it's buying or selling
Mm.
their their home, their stocks, or whatever. And this is a psychology game that is played. I'm sure people have seen this. Would you rather take $1,000 today or $2,000 in 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And it's which one is best suited for you. And again, that's a common mistake that people will make. And as we just talked about rates of return, we can't always necessarily be focused on the rate of return, but what is best for you in this moment and what your ultimate goal is.
Mm.
And yeah, that's some of the things that I think a lot of people face nowadays when it comes to buying and selling their stocks or their home, or moving investments, or saying my investment's not getting the return that I need it to get. So
Yeah. Didn't they do a similar study with kids? I think I saw where they place some kids in a room and they put like a piece of chocolate in front of them, and they would
that's
say, if you don't eat this and you wait 10 minutes or whatever the time frame was, you'll
Yeah.
actually end up with 2,
Yeah.
right? And there were some kids, I think it was most kids, couldn't wait that 10 minutes or 15 minutes to get 2. They wanted the
Yeah.
one that was in front of them right away. And there was a very small percentage
Yeah.
that was rewarded for waiting and ended up with 2 chocolates. Right?
Yeah, it's called delayed gratification, and
Yeah.
it was originally started as a marshmallow thing. And they showed
Was
that
it? Okay.
they studied these people over 40 years, and they
Yeah.
showed the children that delayed the gratification actually ended up more successful. So, challenge to all parents out there: see if you can look up the mushroom study. I did it with my son, and
Okay.
he waited. So
Yeah.
he waited for the extra marshmallow. So I was
And
happy
it's the
dad
same with
moment.
investing, to your point, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I'll use an example, my personal example. I have money invested with one of our portfolio managers. I placed the money in there 10 years ago. I haven't added to it. I've kind of let it sit and do its thing over the last 10 years. And a lot's happened over the last 10 years in the markets. And when I look at some of the clients who have tried to get in and out and, because they just wanted that money now and they were afraid of losing out and whatever else, they fared a lot worse than me because my money doubled over 10 years. Like
Yeah.
literally, I just left it and did nothing with it. And that delayed gratification, now I'm looking at the portfolio going, all right, it's doubled over 10 years. Not bad.
Yeah.
That means I average about a 7% rate of return over the last 10 years,
Yeah.
right? So these are things that when we speak with clients, specifically when we're dealing with some downturns in the markets and they're panicking and they're scared, which is normal. We're not saying you shouldn't be. It's really our job, where we're taking a lot of these emotions out of the equation when we make decisions on behalf of our clients to really point out, like, here's the benefit of waiting, as opposed to just, trying to get it out now, receiving those funds right away.
Mhm.
So the next 3 financial behaviors we're going to talk about are selective attention, illusory, illusory superiority. That's a difficult one, and social desirability biases. So the first one, selective attention, and I think a lot of this is happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to get into this, or do you want to
Yeah.
take a
No.
crack at it?
Yeah. You.
All right. So with selective attention, it really is about deciding or avoiding looking at certain things in your finances. So I'm going to use an example today. I'm sure there have been a lot of people who maybe went a little bit overboard in the month of December with their credit card spending. And I'm sure there are credit card statements right now sitting on the coffee table, kitchen table, wherever you keep it. And you're avoiding opening up that credit card statement because you're just afraid of what it's going to look like. And the issue with that is you also don't know when the payment is due. So by trying to avoid opening that statement, being selective in when you open it, what you open, potentially you're going to be causing some credit issues for yourself. I think the same is probably happening right now with mortgage statements that are starting to come out, specifically with people who own or have variable rate mortgages where the payments are not adjustable. They're probably sitting on those statements and choosing not to open them because they're afraid of what they might see.
Mhm.
And another example of this as well is I know during the down markets, whenever I've done some reviews with certain clients, and I'd ask them if they kind of have a sense of where things are at, and they would say, "Jim, I receive the statements. I don't even open up the envelopes." Right? They would literally pull them all out unopened, and not realizing that really it wasn't as bad as they thought it was. You
Mhm.
know, so that is what this behavior is about. Anything you want to add to that, Ryan?
Uh, no, it's more common than anybody would like to admit for any of
Yeah.
them. So yeah, I know it's a difficult one for a lot of people to just really focus on what it is that needs to be handled and to start the conversation and lay it all out and take a deep breath of fresh air when you have a plan and that things are a little bit more organized. So
Mm-hmm. Right. Alrighty. I always have a tough time with this one. Illusory superiority. I think I got it right. So 81% of Canadians feel they can successfully manage their debts. So do you want to take a crack at this one? What this one really means?
Yeah.
By using that as an example?
Well, I think the best example for people to really relate to is like humans tend to be overconfident in their own abilities, right?
Yeah.
So a great example, there's a bunch of studies
I'm
out
guilty
there.
of that too.
So, a bunch of studies, of people are asked the question, are you a good driver or are you an above average driver, right? And the number of people that always say that they're the above average driver versus everybody else out there.
I'm Goggles Paisano. So that's what I call myself. I'm Goggles Paisano. Are you saying that I'm wrong?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Say what you want about anybody out there driving. So,
Yeah.
and then the same goes like any industry, basically. Again, there's a study from University of Nebraska asking the faculty, what kind of teacher and what is their teaching ability. 90% of them say that they have an above average or great, teaching ability. Well, that can't be true for everybody. So
90% doesn't. You can't be above average, right? Like, I mean, if 90% of them think that, so yeah,
yeah. So the same goes for people's ability to handle debt and to handle their own expenses and to handle the understanding of their cash flow. And again, that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
Because not everybody is above average. And we're here to support people in the understanding and awareness that is going on within their own world of finance and financial wellness. So it's the most favorite.
Yeah, but it also applies to investments, and they're a bit. Yeah, but it also applies to their ability to invest. Mm-hmm. Many people believe that they've seen a couple of things on TikTok, on Facebook, and now they have the confidence that they can do it themselves, and it ends up being overconfidence, right? And what I tend to find, again, with using that as an example, when the markets are performing or when whatever investment is performing at an unreasonable rate of return, it adds even more confidence to your ability, because it's like, hey, look, I'm putting this money in, I'm making all this money as a result. This is easy peasy and it's wonderful until the crash happens. And then they realize, or they lose a lot of their confidence, they realize their inability to really fully understand how to invest money properly, right? So that's another example that we need to share with people. Social desirability bias. Or anything else you want to add?
Well, I was just going to add, it's just the stress that's often added to people's lives when it comes to things like that too, right? Mm-hmm. They take on the ownership of watching and learning, and there's so much in the world of finance to know. That's why we have a group like the TVH group. Is you need to find specialists that are specifically focused on one individual thing. And I can't promise to know everything, but I promise to find the answer and find somebody within the group that's going to be able to answer it properly, versus going to the super internet of social media to find the answer. So
yeah, good point. So the next one, social desirability bias, and this is really trying to, I think, to simplify this, keeping up with the Joneses is the bottom line, right? Is trying to put yourself out in such a way that maybe is not really you from a financial point of view. I'll use even on the insurance world, and we use drinking as an example. There's an example here about drinking over the holiday season. But when you apply for life insurance and they ask you do you drink alcohol and what are the amounts that you drink on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, whatever number the person provides, they usually tack on like 20% on top of that number from life insurance point of view, because they know that when it comes to insurance, people will probably say a little bit less than what they really think. They're not lying intentionally,
Yeah.
but it's just, it's probably, 5 a week when it's really, 7 or 8, for example. So that's really what the social desirability aspect is putting yourself out there, responding in such a way where it's socially acceptable amongst your friends. And on an investment point of view, Ryan, we've said that this as well. Like, how many times have we heard someone say, well, I've had success with this investment and this investment, whatever else. But when you really dig deep, you find out they've had a lot more strikes than they've had home runs,
Yeah.
right? Maybe they've had one home run, and that's what they share with everybody. But the truth of the matter is there are probably a lot more strikeouts and losses than they're sharing with their friends and their family.
And that's the neighbor that you're talking to. Well, they're mowing their lawn, sharing that they got 30% on their return last year, and everything's hunky glory. So,
but they didn't tell you that they lost 70% the year before.
Yeah.
So even though they got 30 last year, they're still nowhere close to breaking even. There's still a lot of significant loss, right?
Yeah.
But they brag about the 30%.
Yeah.
Right. So just be mindful of that as well. All right. Let's get into the money mindsets. And there's a control scale. And if we kind of start from the left, anyone who falls into that category, and we're going to get into them specifically, you're more controlling. And the more you move over to the right, and so we can see on the left there's bricks, and on the right there's a sun. It means you're less controlling when it comes to money and finances.
So I'm going to say, if you haven't taken our money mindset quiz, pause the podcast right now and go take it before you go through this. So
yeah, it's really interesting. I do encourage a lot of people, like even for people that were not going through the behavioral cash flow plan, I encourage them to take the money mindset quiz because it's 5 minutes, and it's almost, and I've used the analogy of like astrology, right? Even though astrology, maybe it's 80% accurate, and there's people who don't believe it and whatever else. I would say the results to the money mindset quiz are about 80% accurate in terms of what category you fit in. So we're not going to go into all these in great detail because there's 7 of them. So we're just going to highlight a couple of them. So the first one is the brick wall. So that would be the most controlling, starting from the left. And typically someone who falls into the brick wall category in the money mindset quiz is analytical, a leader, stubborn. It also says controlling at the bottom. So, so that's what the brick wall is. Anything else you want to add to that, Ryan?
No, well, I guess yes.
You don't have to.
The answer is yes. No, just again, we wanted to kind of introduce people to these as they go through them because it's a great way to create conversation not only with your advisor but your partner and family, and see how everybody falls within the family, and how you guys can co-spend, coexist, co-save through. Through your expenses and through the things that are most important for you when it comes to goal setting. So, this one brick wall, you're a careful spender, right? You're going to be confident in your finances because you're so rigid onto how things look. So, yeah.
And I'm glad you made the point about, helping out with the family and understanding each other in terms of the different money mindsets you have in the household. Because there's been a few times with clients where we've walked them through the money mindset quiz. They're very different, sometimes polar opposite. And they look at each other, it's like, I didn't know that about you. I didn't realize that about you. Now I can understand why you act a certain way with finances or spending or whatever else. So there is a bit of therapy that sometimes tends to happen by going through the money mindset quiz and having an understanding of how your partner views money and debt and finances and investing and all those things.
And to take that further too, like how we ourselves will then pass on bits of these onto our kids. So there's a generational thing. And I was just talking to my partner about this too. Like, the generational, how certain behaviors are passed on generationally and how we're going to act,
Yeah.
how my parents and how I'm then going to pass that on to my son, and he's going to pass on to his son. Hopefully, all the positive things, but there are
Yeah.
some things that that offer some rendering of reflection. So
Yeah, for sure. So the next one, number 2, is the bunker. So the bunker is a little more careful, focused, grateful. Anything else you want to add to the bunker?
again, they're trustworthy when it comes to and reliable. So and they're going to be careful at spending money.
Mm.
Very they'll be a little bit stressed if unable to save regularly for their financial goals or make the right decisions when it comes to trying to make a major purchase. So they're a little bit slower in making that decision because they want to make sure that things are kind of set up correctly for them. So vows safety and savings is one of the big things. So
Yeah.
when you have a bunker and a brick wall sitting in the same room in a relationship, it should lead to some interesting conversations and dynamic that happens. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost like we're relationship experts as well here. We might end up saving some marriages and relationships, Ryan. That'd be awesome. So, I'm going to put that out there. If you go through this process and we've helped save your marriage, let us know, because that's important to us as well. Because it's providing clarity in the relationship. Because money actually ends up, joking aside, money ends up being like the number one reason why people do split, right? And go through a divorce. So this is something that I would encourage people to complete and maybe see and have a better understanding or awareness of how your partner views things.
Yeah.
So the next one, the Justifier. They're non-judgmental, they're spontaneous and protective. Anything else?
Well, the Justifier sounds more like a DC comic hero than anything to me. So, the Justifier again is everybody kind of knows the person that enjoys retail therapy, right?
Yeah.
So they're suddenly I need to go out and have some retail therapy. So it's best for them to automate savings. They have very strong reasoning skills. But one of the great things too, the Justifier is they love the experiences, and that's one of the things that I enjoyed about reading about the Justifier. So I'm sure
You're killing me now.
We've seen
You're
this
killing me
role.
now, Ryan. Yeah, well, now I'm kind of visualizing you in green tights with a cape with a Justifier written on your chest. So, I don't know how I'm going to be able to unsee that now.
Yeah, I think it'd be funny because as we go through this and people listen, they're looking at their partners right now, trying to figure out which one of these are they and which one am I, and see how. So the challenge for everybody is to write down what you think you are and write down what you think your partner is, and then each of you takes the quiz. So yeah.
And the opposite could be happening too. They might be sitting there going, "You're definitely that. You're definitely, the brick wall or the
Please
Justifier."
Yeah.
Right?
It's not this is not a time to start pointing or anything. Just enjoy the information, take it in, and see how each of them can mingle and support each other when we go through this. So
For sure.
the daydreamer, the dreamer,
The dreamer, not the daydreamer. Yeah.
the Monkey song "Daydream Believer." They're driven, they're entrepreneurial, they're risk takers and passionate, and sometimes a little bit impatient when it comes to getting things done. So
you can see here, like if you're a dreamer, you're comfortable with significant risk, which is very different to the bunker, right? Yeah. So if you're a dreamer and you're risky, or you're okay with taking a risk, and your partner is a bunker who's risk averse, you can see why you can have some challenges in the household in terms of making some decisions, right? I'll use an example from my parents years ago. I think my father probably would have been more the dreamer based on this one example. My mom was probably more the bunker. And this was in 1979, and my father went home and said to my mom, "I have an opportunity to buy an acre of land in Markham for $10,000. Or no, sorry, it was 10 acres, with $1,000 an acre. So $10,000 for 10 acres of land in Markham, Ontario. in 1979.
Yeah.
My mom, who I think was probably the bunker, she's like, no, that's too risky. No one will ever move to Markham. It's a farm community. Why would we do that?
Yeah.
Well, it's literally where Markville Mall is today, and we'd probably be multi-millionaires if my mom was less bunker and more dreamer,
Yep.
right? But then again, my father might have been more dreamer, and that might have hit. That might have been the one that he shared with everybody, but who knows what other losses he would have had. So
Yeah.
it's all interesting, again, in going through these. Then we have the undercover agent.
Yeah.
These
It's
people
double
are
oh 007.
private. Yes. Private, independent, and generous. So anything else you want to add to this one?
So they like diversity. They're private about their money matters, especially with family. Very careful sharing financial information. Very kind of an older school type of thought where we can't talk about money. It's hush hush. So and yeah, there's your spending habits aren't obvious to most people when you're 007. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that if you're an undercover agent poker player, you'd be a very tough read for
yeah,
for a lot of people, right? And
yeah,
I've known a couple of, I guess, again, I don't know for certain they were undercover agents, but I've known enough people in my life who were multi-millionaires, and I knew that they were multi-millionaires based on my relationship with them. However, if I just had met them on the street, wouldn't have guessed it, right? They would be driving a 20-year-old car, wearing ripped jeans, whatever else. Didn't look like it. They kept their money to themselves. They didn't flaunt their money. There definitely would have been considered undercover agents.
yeah,
Masquerader. This kind of reminds me of the Phantom of the Opera a little bit. But they're intelligent. They're perfectionists. They're materialistic. Ooh, look at the Maserati. Maybe I'm the masquerader. Look at the first thing it says there. I didn't even read it. Image matters. All right. Well, the image of the car there matters, but I guess what they're referring to here is having an image, portraying a certain image, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is obviously kind of keeping up with the Joneses, big spender,
Yeah.
Values quality, enjoys experiences and ownership in particular, and often very well educated.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say sometimes I find masqueraders often come with a lot of debt that is often hidden too at the same time. So there's a bit of a blend of masquerader and undercover agent. So, well, I guess if they're driving that car, they could be James Bond. So,
Well, you know what? I mean, I've worked with, again, not to confirm that they were masqueraders, because at the time we didn't have money mindset quizzes that we were providing with people.
yeah,
But they're the hardest people to work with, because what I would find when you kind of uncover things and really see the reality, yeah, like they beautiful suits, nice watches, nice cars, nice homes, always traveling, barely have $100 in the bank account, right? So they're very difficult to work with sometimes, because they are kind of hiding a bigger problem, an underlying problem, right? The last one, I think this is you, Ryan. It says kind, trusting, selfless, easygoing, and loyal. Those are all the things that I would definitely say that you are.
sounds
So
like
I don't know if you've
also
taken the quiz.
also sounds like a golden retriever too. So,
You're right. But look, optimistic, or an optimist. So anything else you want to add to this? You love the beach. Like, this has to be you.
uncomfortable making financial decisions alone. I don't know. I have taken the quiz, but I'm not going to share it yet with people what I
No,
am.
yeah, don't
So,
share it. Don't share it.
but it's funny because each of them, there's a little bit of each of them that speaks to me, and it was very interesting to see what my result was.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's the optimist, for instance, is uncomfortable making financial decisions alone, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. But it's great because they're using their resources that they have around them. So
Yeah.
prefers to access professional advice when possible, shares resources willingly, just likes managing self-regulated financial systems. So
Mhm.
yeah, Optimist is a nice, easy person to work with when it comes to an advisor, especially. So
Yeah. Yeah.
because they know that they're taking in lots of information, they're at least going to get the right decision and the right advice. So
Yeah, for sure. Well, then that leads us to the money mindset quiz. So we've talked about this a little bit, but you can track us. I will include the money mindset quiz in the description of the podcast episode. I'll do the same thing with the YouTube version of this recording. So we encourage you to complete the money mindset quiz. It's about 5 minutes, right, Ryan? Like I think it didn't take me longer than 5 minutes.
yeah.
It's mobile phone friendly as well, so you don't have to be in front of your computer. You can literally just sit there and do it while you're sitting on the couch. And it's complimentary. There's no cost to completing the quiz. You're not going to be asked to buy anything by completing the quiz. What'll happen is you'll be prompted to download the Money Mindset ebook, and that's where you're going to find out, the details of whatever money mindset you are. But again, even the ebook is also complimentary. There's no cost associated with downloading our ebook.
Mhm.
Anything else to add to that, Ryan?
No, I again, as we've said before, really it gives you an understanding of who you are and
Mm-hmm.
what type of person you are when it comes to finances, along with the family. It really does help you in setting realistic retirement goals that are going to help you with this bias, and also helps us as an advisor, anybody around you,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the way you think about money and how you're willing to take on risk or not risk, or how you take advice when it comes to working with a professional. So,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, we've, in the short period of time that we've been using it ourselves too, I think it's really made a huge difference when it comes to people really understanding how to achieve their goals better by understanding themselves first and foremost. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And now if we kind of wrap this into in the family and all these different mindsets,
mhm.
again, it's an awareness, is having an understanding of where your partner is coming from and how they view certain things as well when it comes to your finances. So I think it is very important to complete and always separately. Don't do it together, because you don't want any of the answers to be influenced by your partner. So literally just complete it separately. And I would encourage you, if you have 16, 17, 18-year olds or older children in your household, have them complete it as well to help them get an understanding of what their money mindset is, so it can help them put them on the right path, in terms of also helping them in making the right financial decisions in the future.
Yeah.
So we're going to start summarizing some of this. So I think the first thing really that people really need to do to help them with behavior and changing one of their behaviors is to lower your mental value of things you own. There is the old saying, it's only worth what someone else is willing to pay for
Mhm.
it, right? And sometimes, and the reason why we say that in terms of lowering your mental value is you might be holding on to something and you'll never get what you're supposed to get. And you might miss out on opportunities as well as a result. It happens with portfolios, with other assets as well. So usually, if we talk about real estate in this example, that's why you should get two, three, four different opinions on what it's worth. There's also programs like House Sigma that does a really good job of identifying here's kind of what the projected value of your home is based on data. That's the other thing too, is data doesn't lie, right?
Mhm.
Emotions usually cloud the data. So if you have a difficult time with that, bring in a professional, a realtor. When it comes to your portfolios and your investments, you might be holding on to something that you should probably have gotten rid of a long time ago. Um, Bring it to us. We'll be able to give you information and an opinion based on data, not based on emotion. Anything else that you want to add to that, Ryan?
You nailed it.
Nailed it? Awesome.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Question before you copy. Just because your neighbor is doing it, it doesn't mean it's the right thing for you to do. So question it, research it as much as you possibly can, and don't rely on the research that's being provided to you by the neighbor or your sibling or your friend. I'll use an example. A few years ago, I had a client / friend who was investing in a stock and making crazy returns on the stock. Like I'm talking at one point, like 10% per day, and always talking about it and bragging about it and whatever else. And at one point, he even said to me, "Hey, here's the information. You should buy it yourself. You should, because listen, I'm making all this money and doing really well with it. You might even want to recommend it to your clients." And because I'm in the industry and I know how these things work, my response was, "No, thank you," because I know how this is going to play out. And at the end of the day, stock went bankrupt. He lost everything that he put into it, right? So question these things. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true, right? So let's just try to remove emotion out of any of these decisions and use data, use facts, and the information that we have available at the time, as much information as we can gather.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to that, or did I nail that one too?
You pretty much nailed it, but there's a funny example of that too. Question before you copy is the study of there's this home study. If you paint your door just random colors, so they did this psychology test, this like awful green color,
Yeah.
right, in this neighborhood, and over time, other people started painting their doors this awful green color. So you have to be careful of what you're going to copy, because you could just be part of a study to see if you're just going to copy and paste. So
yeah, that's true. All right, the next one: don't get stuck on repeat. Things do change over time. Yeah. So you want to take this one?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, stop making the same mistakes, and that things can change over time. When it comes to, for us, we just talked about families. Instead of doing rinse and repeat the same thing over and over again, that's just keeping you in the same space. Why not just stop, ask the right questions, and know that you can change things over time through the right behaviors. So,
Yeah, two things to that. There's the old, and I'm sure many people have heard this, the meaning of insanity, right? Doing the same thing repeatedly over and over again, expecting a different outcome.
Yeah.
So you have to change your outcome. And the one question that I'm asking a lot of clients now, as it relates to our behavioral cash flow planning program that we're offering, when it comes to their situation, a lot of these clients I've been working with 8, 10, 15, 20 years, and I've recognized a bit of a pattern. So now I'm asking them, we're back in this situation once again.
Yeah.
Is this situational, or is this a pattern? And I ask them to really pause and think about it, look deep in their heart. Do they believe this is a situational reason why they're back in this, financial mess? Or is it a pattern that they have identified and established? And it's amazing how many people now are saying, you know what, we're seeing that this is a pattern. So great. You've identified the pattern. So now we don't have to get stuck in that repeat. Let's start making some changes. Let's start teaching you how to alter some of your behaviors. Let's put you on the right path moving forward and not repeat what you've done in the past.
Yeah.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Take care using savings or debt to cover expenses or make up for income gaps. Want to take on this one, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I know you got this. So,
well, no. Basically, some people tend to make decisions or feel comfortable making certain spending decisions because they know there's money in the bank,
Yeah.
or they know they have the limit that's available on a credit card,
Mhm.
and they go overboard, and then they get in trouble, and then they find themselves that they're a little bit overwhelmed, right? Or they try to fund their lifestyle through accessing savings, which should be there for emergency purposes or for the future. And this goes back to immediate gratification. Or they use debt, to fund their lifestyle. So just really be careful with that. And that's another pattern we can help identify as well. If you're seeing, for example, your credit cards, your revolving debt is just creeping higher in balance and higher in balance and higher in balance, there's a behavioral issue potentially that we have to identify, address, and change.
Mhm.
Right?
And if you're scared to change it, then it's more of a reason to sit down and put the ego aside, really
Mm.
do some reflecting, self-reflection, how these decisions are not only impacting you, but they're impacting your family,
Yeah.
and they're also impacting your future generation, your children, and the way they see money too. And
Yeah.
this constant cycle that then continues to happen generation over generation, right? So
Mhm.
it's really a big mindset that needs to happen for a lot of people,
Yeah.
that will change the way they think about money and how they can start making money work for them instead of constantly chasing, right? So, and yeah,
Yeah,
you
and I'm
put
glad you said
aside.
you use the word ego, because the other thing too that we want people to know, there's no shame in any of this. There really isn't. I can understand why someone might feel that way. There's no judgment with Ryan and I. You come to us, you share with us the situation. We'll help you identify those patterns. We'll course correct with you.
Yeah.
There's no shame in any of it. There's no judgment by us. We're truly here to try to help you change what you've been doing. Repeating what you've been doing puts you in a better situation. And, I know Ryan have said this, if you have children, it's now going to also teach them better habits, better behaviors, and you're going to be putting them in a much better situation in life moving forward as well. So I just want people to know that there's no shame in talking with us and having a conversation with us too. There's no cost in having that initial consultation, because the other thing we have to determine too is, can we help? Because I know we've said this in other episodes. We can't help everybody. This isn't for everyone. This isn't a magic pill. There are unfortunately situations that people get just too deep, that there's really not much that we can do from a behavior point of view, and some really hard decisions are going to have to be made. But the first step to determining all that is reaching out to us and having a conversation.
Yeah.
Now, how do we help them with the process and the program, Ryan? We run them through our financial capability program. So with the financial capability program, there's a couple of things that's provided. So the first thing is you have access to our Winton app. The Winton app allows you to track your income and your expenses.
Mhm.
And then we also identify and break things down in basically two categories: your spendable and your variable, your fixed and your spendable.
Yeah.
So those are the two categories, and you'll be able to track that in the Winton app. So that's one thing that you definitely have access to. The second piece that I think is very important is our 12 course module.
Mhm.
So there are 12 courses that will teach you about your behaviors, about spending, about investing, and all those things. That's included in the financial capability program. In addition to that, you also receive 4 coaching sessions on a calendar basis, on a 12-month basis as well. So Ryan and I will coach you through. So really, we start with the first 3 courses. We talk about those. We summarize those. How do we implement some of those in your overall plan? And then we focus on the next 3 and the next 3 and the next 3 after that.
Mm.
So that's part of the process. Then finally, you also receive a written behavioral cash flow plan. So that's something that we'll also present to you as well. And that'll outline everything you need to do It'll also outline that if you make all these different decisions, if we've uncovered funds for you and improved your cash flow, and we redirect some of those funds to either pay down debt or fund a short-term goal that you might have. And that's really important as well, Ryan. We haven't talked about that, where the goal really isn't necessarily right off the bat, we're going to pay down our credit cards. That's the goal. We want to actually have a fun goal. We want people to feel like they've accomplished something, right? Just like dieting, and I say dieting because I've done a lot of it in my life. You lose the first 5 or 10 pounds, you feel really, really good, and it motivates you to just keep going, right? So that's really what we want to do, and that's the entire program. The entire program, it's a 1-year program, and that's what you pay for. After 1 year, if you feel that you're on track and you're okay and you have an understanding, you can move on and complete the program itself and graduate from it. Or you might want a refresher, or you might want to keep going. Maybe you're someone that needs that ongoing coaching, right? So that's available. But at minimum, we are talking about a 1-year commitment to walk through the financial capability program. Anything else, Ryan, you want to add to that?
No. Fun through learning and the coaching sessions. And again, the biggest thing for most people is it's not hard budgeting. We want you to set aside small, achievable goals that are going to be fun, things that you can look forward to, that really keep people motivated throughout. And it's always exciting to hear people in the short time they've been doing this, how they're moving towards that first set of goals. And then once they achieve that, then we're setting the next one, right? And, whether it's a small vacation for the family or saving up to fix the bathroom, whatever is important to you. So, yeah.
You never know. The Justifier might show up at one of the sessions.
That's right.
Green outfit, Ryan. Pink. What do you prefer? What do you think? I mean, I think the sign, the name or title was in green. I think that'd be perfect, right? That green, outfit with a cape. I think you need a cape as well. Yeah.
It's like the movie Men in Tights.
All right, now we lost everybody who was interested potentially in going through the program. So let's bring it back to the seriousness. So that's really the whole program. These are some of the behaviors. There's more in terms of different behaviors that we discuss with clients as well. We've just unpacked really a small part of some of the education when it comes to behavior and behavioral decisions that we make that kind of disrupt our retirement success, disrupt some of our short-term financial success. So really encourage people to reach out to us. Ryan, how can they find us?
I forgot. My brain's just stopped, so I forgot.
All right.
Information. Sorry.
So you know what?
So
if
excited
you want,
about being the Justifier.
Yeah. So let's start off with email address financial@tvhgroup.ca. So financial@tvhgroup.ca, or you can find us at tvhfinancial.ca, www. So you can go to our website. Also, our different social media platforms. So we have social in your name and my name, TVH Group, TVH Financial, Cash Flow Solutions. So any one of those searches, you'll be able to find us. And I encourage you to listen to some of our past episodes as well. Lots of information. We've interviewed mortgage brokers, lawyers in the past. We're looking to add some more guests as well for later this year. So really encourage you to listen to some of those episodes.
Yeah.
So if there's nothing else to add, Ryan, I think we're done for the evening. Wow. And we should be back in about 2 weeks' time, correct? We do have a guest lined up. So no sneak peeks, but we do have an important guest 2 weeks from now that we'll be introducing as well. All right. Well, thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everyone, for listening and watching. Take care.
Take care.
Why is it